Welcome to the Free to Soar podcast. My mission is to inspire, empower, and equip heart-centered, mission-driven, kingdom-minded business owners to show up freely and fully as the brilliant, powerful change makers that you are, so that you can lead the business and the life of your dreams. You'll enjoy vulnerable, authentic conversations with me and other heart-centered, mission-driven leaders that will spark your heart and ignite your passion to powerfully transform you, your business, and your life from the inside out. Your next level of impact and income is about unleashing the fullness of you, reprogramming your limiting beliefs and patterns, tapping into and trusting your inner wisdom, and harnessing God's power within you so that you can unlock new possibilities in your business and your life. And this show brings it to you. Step with me into a God-powered reality wilder than your wildest dreams, with freedom, impact, abundance, and enjoyment that you were created for. Let's go. Well, welcome to another episode of the Free to Soar podcast. I'm your host, Connie Jones, and I'm so glad you've joined me today. I'm just going to dive in today because I've got something really important to share with you, and it's something really near and dear to my heart, and something the Lord put on my heart, and is part of is actually the center of my calling, and I want you to know it today, and I want you to hear it very, very clearly. And it's this. It's that your dreams and your desires were placed inside of you, specifically by Him, so you can bring them into the world. And I want you to just close your eyes, and I want you to, wherever you are, if you can't close your eyes, that's okay, if you're driving or whatever, but get very present in your body. And I want you to breathe that in, and I want you to feel that. And I want you to hear that like never before as truth, as it hits your heart and as it hits the deepest parts of you and your spirit. That your dreams and your desires were placed inside of you so that you can bring them into the world. And that is what you were created for. That is the essence of your purpose and your calling. And that is what God wants to do in and through you as you live in life union with Him. And so we're going to talk about that today. But I want to ask you a series of questions first that are pertaining to that. And let's look at the opposite of that you may be experiencing. And how to close the gap with that today. So I ask you a series of questions, and I want you to write your answers on your phone or your paper or whatever you can, or maybe come back to this later. Just think about it now and then come back to it later when you have a chance. But the first question I want to ask you is, how many of you were taught something different than what I just said growing up? How many of you were taught something different than your dreams and your desires were placed in you specifically for you so that God could bring them to fruition in and through you in the world? And if so, what were you taught that was so different from that? Just think about that. The second question I want to ask you is, what have you experienced differently than that in your reality? And the third question is, what's the gap between the reality that you're living in your life and in your business today versus the greater desire that wants to come forth from you? What is that gap that you're experiencing? And I want you to feel the fullness of that gap in every way. Notice all the specifics, all the details of the gap. If your dreams and your desires were placed in you for a purpose, for you to bring forth into the world to share in your unique way, then what's the gap between the reality that you're living in your life and your business versus the greater desire that wants to come forth from you? I wish I could be sitting in the room with you right now. I wish that, and we do in my groups and my programs. These are the things that we discuss, and I help you close the gap. And that's exactly what I love helping people do. And it's very effective because we are not created to live in the gap. We're not created to have that as our reality. And we have the power within us, God's power within us, to close the gap because we have access to authority and power and access to resources and access to wisdom that once we access it, then we can close that gap between the reality that we're living and the dream that is in our heart that was put there by God. But the whole point is that we are the visionaries. We're the light workers. We're the change makers. So it's vital that we live out our visions. We live out our desires and our dreams. And nobody wins when we don't live our truest desires. We lose the people that we're anointed and appointed to help and to guide through their own transformation and into their own purpose, in the way that we were created to help and serve them, to bring them to the fullness of who they are in freedom. They lose out when we're not living our dreams and desires, and the world loses when we're not living our dreams and desires. So let's talk about what's stopping us from living the life and creating the dream that we were designed for. There's always this question that haunts us. It's the question that I ask people all the time because I hear them. They come to me and they're really asking this, and I just put it into words for them. Can I really be who I am? Can I really do what I love? And can I really live the life that I want, that God put in my heart, in my deepest desires? And that was the very question that kept me awake at night and in frustration for many, many years. So I want to share my story with you here, really quickly, so that you can get the gist of what I was experiencing, the gap that I was feeling, and how I began to close it, and how I want to help you close it today, or start to close it today. So I was a successful therapist and coach, transformation coach, and business coach, and I had built my practice from scratch over a number of years, the last 20 years. Had been leading a group practice with other therapists and coaches, and I had amazing coaching clients. I was making multiple six figures. I was seeing lives transformed all over the place in every way, in every area of their lives and in their businesses. But all of that success made me feel even worse because I wanted to quit every bit of it. I just wanted to quit it all. None of it was working for me. Because the reality is that I wasn't doing the work that I wanted in the way that I truly desired to do it, in the way that lit me up every day. I was drained and I was exhausted. I was caretaking everyone else at my own expense. And I had no time or energy to take care of me or enjoy my life. And I had no space in my day to create what I really wanted to, or nourish myself in the way that allowed me to show up in the radiance and the brilliance that I really wanted to be showing up in the world. I felt trapped in the grind of the have tos and the shoulds and the supposed tos, and my effort and my resources that I spent didn't really produce the results that I yearned for. So it was just more grinding and more struggle and more hard, and it was just frustrating. And so I was also riddled with fear and anxiety, and I spent my days reacting to the demands and the demands of others and to the demands of my own inner persecutor. I believed that I wasn't worthy of the more that I really wanted. I judged myself for wanting what I really wanted. And I was really was afraid of what would happen if I got it. Do you relate? So I convinced myself that I couldn't have it and that I had to keep doing what everybody else needed me to do and what paid the bills. And my business felt like a prison. I felt powerless to change it and to know what would close the gap between the reality I was living and the dream of my heart. And that was not a fun existence. And that is not the existence that any of us were created for. It wasn't until I got to the point where I couldn't keep pushing through it anymore and keep denying the truth that I was determined to make a change. And I won't lie, it took me some time, a few years actually, to discover and implement all the wisdom and the tools that changed it for me. But over time, I was able to create a system that I've used over and over again during challenging times to recognize when I'm not living in alignment with my true desires and to make shifts that I need to make to be the powerful creator of what I want in my life. And now I expedite that process for my clients so that they can close the gap faster and live the life that they were designed for and begin to create the dream in their business that they really want to. And I'd like to walk you through that process today during our time together, and that has been so effective and impactful for my clients and for me. And so let me just say this first. The fact that you're experiencing a gap between what you want and what your reality is means that you have a yearning inside for more. That's the telltale sign. And it also means that that more that you want is available to you because it's calling to you. And it's inviting you into the more. And it's a call. It's an awakening in your heart to let you know that that is your divine design and your destiny that is calling you and inviting you into it so that you can receive it. So I want you to just answer that call right now. You don't have to know how it's going to happen. You don't know how you don't need to have to know the shifts that you're going to make. You don't have to know any of it. I want you to just answer that call. Say yes to the call right now, to the yearning inside for more. And just trust that as you say yes, that your subconscious is going to begin to create it. And that you are beginning to say yes to the more that wants to flow in from you. And you're opening to receive that. Now, the telltale signs that you aren't honoring and living in alignment with your desires are these: that you're feeling resentment, frustration, yearning, complaints. You're having complaints, which means there's unmet desire. You're tolerating things you're not okay with. Things feel heavy and hard. You're exhausted. You're overdoing. You're overthinking. And there are many more, but those are the telltale. Maybe you've got another one that's coming up right now for you, and just acknowledge that, honor that. And just notice that this is here. This feels hard or feels like struggle because I'm not really living in alignment with my desires. Don't beat yourself up for that. Don't judge yourself for that. Don't try to figure out what you're going to do. Just notice it and just honor it that, okay, this is a sign that I'm not living in alignment with my desires. And instead of judging, instead of doubting your desires and being afraid of them, you're going to decide that you're going to connect to the desires and embrace them instead. Because your desires, those unmet desires in your heart, are the life force energy waiting to come forth from you, and they are your destiny waiting to be unleashed. So what we're going to do right now is all part of a much bigger process and a much more in-depth process that I take my clients through. But for the time that we have today, I'm going to get us started with the foundational piece. And the first step to making the change so that you get in alignment with your desires, so that you begin to create the life of your desire and your dream, and do that in your business also, is knowing what are the true desires of your heart. And to unearth what are your true desires, you've got to reconnect to your heart and be willing to ponder these questions deep inside of you. And here are the questions that I'm going to ask you. And it's okay if you don't have time to answer these questions right now. Just come back to this part in the podcast, or maybe you can jot them down, or you can, like I said, come back to them later and answer them. But spend some time journaling them, spend some time with them. And it may take some time. I mean, answers may not come because oftentimes we get in the noise and the chaos, and we have to quiet ourselves and really hear and start to ponder these questions. And as we do, they will bring us to our truth. So here's the first question, or here's the series of questions. Who are you really? And how do you want to show up in the world in your unique way? Just sit with that. The next question is, what do you want to share with the world? What are you so passionate about sharing? And what lights you up about it? And how do you want to do it in a way that lights you up? What powerful change do you want to create in the world, in the lives of your clients, and the people that you surround yourself with? How do you really want to experience your day so you can show up in your radiance and your true essence and as a nourished, fueled you? How do you want to spend your time and energy every day in ways that are important and nourishing to your soul, that breathe life into you? What do you want to be free of? And what would the version of your business and your life that lights you up look and feel like to really live it? Once we answer these questions, we can move on to step 2. But before I move on to step 2, I want to just remind you that I do typically take my clients through a more intensive process where they connect to their heart. They gain clarity about their desires for their life and their business. And that is a process within itself that I guide them through. But these questions will really get you started in that process. And I'm happy to help and support you with that more in my programs if you're wanting to, if you want that support. But here's step 2. Step 2 is understanding and transforming why this feels so hard, why it's so far away from you, and why you're not living this as your reality. So in order to do that, we got to talk about what gets in our way. And what gets in our way is our lack of clarity around our desires because of the reality that we've experienced, what we were taught, the disappointments that we've encountered, whatever's happened that has created a different reality for us. The next thing is our programming and our patterning in our mind and our body about our worthiness to desire, to ask, and to receive what we really want. The next thing that gets in the way is our doubt that it'll happen for us. Our guilt, our discomfort, and our judgments around our desires also stop us. And our fear about what it may mean for us if it does happen. We think we're afraid of failure. We're actually afraid of success. And what does that mean for me if I am successful? What does that mean? I know that was scary to me to think about if my dreams and my desires do come true and are in my reality and I am living them. Does that mean I'm selfish? Does that mean I'll have too much and people will leave me? Does that mean people will judge me and reject me? Does that mean that I'm going to become someone I don't like? Does that mean that God's going to punish me for that? What does that mean? And we struggle with that inside and we don't acknowledge that to ourselves. So we keep ourselves stuck in the safety, even though it's not working for us. The other thing that gets in the way is our not knowing how it's going to happen because we don't see the how. We don't trust that it will. And then finally, our programs, our patterns, and our conditioning is a conditioning about what we must do to make it happen for ourselves. And that it's going to feel really hard, that it's going to be a struggle, that it's going to, that I don't have what it takes, whatever those patterns and conditionings are, programs that we have come to believe about ourselves. But here's what I want you to know today. I want you to know that it is possible and that you staying stuck in the grind, the urgency, the have-tos, the doubt, the reactivity of the day, the powerlessness, the denial of your desires, the judgment of yourself, the feeling not worthy, the pleasing, the caretaking everyone but you is not serving you or anyone. And it is not serving your clients and it's not serving your loved ones. And it is definitely not serving yourself. And it's not glorifying God. You expanding into and living out of the highest version of you as the leader of your vision-led business and life is the greatest gift you could give to yourself, to your loved ones, and to those you serve. And you will serve people so much better from a full, empowered, confident, healthy, full of life, nourished, radiant you. And you will glorify God doing that. Now, the third step is to embrace and act on your desires. I want you to listen to your desires and start making shifts to align with them. And this is where the empowering process starts that I take my clients through. It's a shifting from the denial and the judgment of our desires and the constricting, draining energy of fear and self-doubt. And as we do that, we are empowered to transform that energy that is draining and limiting us into powerful life force energy that wants to flow through us and wants to flow from us into others in this world. And as you begin to acknowledge your desires, then you can start to focus on the new life that wants to come through for you and through you and flow from you instead of the fear and the anxiety and the doubt and the have-tos that have been draining you. And I call this Jedi warrior training that I take my clients through. And it's a process that I take them through. It's empowering that, and during that process, you're going to encounter your limiting patterns, your limiting programming, and your nervous system conditioning that you need to transform. And that's where I come in as the Jedi Master to help you transform all of that, because it's hard to do on your own. And if you could do it on your own, you would have done it already. But together, we clear out what is in the way, your beliefs, your programming, your patterns, and your nervous system conditioning, what is hindering you. And we don't just fix what's broken, because you're not broken. What we do is we help you align with the higher version of you and transform into, what does the radiant you look like? If you could honor what's nourishing and what fuels you, if you could make little shifts, little micro shifts to move in the direction of what you really want, how would that look on a daily basis? And so I encourage you to ask for support in this process and begin to release what isn't in alignment with what you really want. Because holding on to what we don't want is taking up space for what we do. And as you transform, align, and release, you'll have clarity and conviction about what you really want and how to create it. And courage and confidence will arise from within you to realize it, because that new life force energy and God's spirit and his power and his wisdom in you will be harnessed inside of you. And as you learn to trust your inner wisdom and follow alignment, embrace your power to ask for what you want and open to receive it, you'll see miracles happen all around you. So what does this look and feel like when we go out in the world after creating this transformation inside of ourselves? Well, I don't have a cookie cutter answer. It's not a cookie cutter answer, but I do have a magical process that unfolds as you align. And that is what I walk you through. And that is what this process today and these steps that are going to get you started on with these questions that I've asked you, and beginning to make these shifts and beginning to release what's not in alignment and beginning to honor those, your desires in your heart and say yes to those, is going to start this magical process unfolding inside of you. So here's what I want you to do to start. I want you to write out what you want your life to look like after you transform all the habits and the patterns that are not serving you. If you trust your desires and your inner wisdom, after you see the possibilities unlock for you, after you experience the ease and the enjoyment of working that way, after you show up as the nourished, radiant you, after you begin to feel courage arise within you, after you begin to choose something new and adventurous in life instead of following fear, anxiety, and have-tos, I want you to notice, what is that life? What's that business? How do you show up as that you? What is that radiant you who's nourished and fueled? How does she or he show up in your day, in your business, in your life? How does she experience her days? How does he go about his day? What does he make time for? First, that's most important. What does he offer others out of that place of nourishment and field and radiance? As you walk through that process, you begin to watch miracles happen in your life, and everything begins to change for you. That's the power of God in you. That's the magic of it. And you get to enjoy it. It doesn't have to feel hard and heavy and burdensome and grinding. You get to enjoy it. So if today hearing this has ignited your true desire, and you've seen how you maybe have some survival-based patterns and programming that has limited your possibilities, and you're not living in alignment with your desires, and you do feel that gap between your reality and the dream in your heart, I would love to walk through this process with you to transform all of that and empower you to live the life that you were created for, to help you become the Jedi warrior that you were created to be, where things feel easy and flowing, where you show up radiant and joyful and free and fully you, so you can begin to create and live the dream in your heart. So you can be the brilliant change maker that you were created to be. So you can live the life of your design. And that's what I live for. So reach out to me. And also, if this has ignited something in your heart and you've been inspired by this, then, like I said, I'd love to work with you, to have you in one of my programs to guide you through this process. I would also, you could see see the free, trainings that are and downloads that are available to you for more information, in the podcast notes for today. And then also feel free to share this with someone that you know needs to hear it today and would be inspired by it and empowered by it. And then also make sure that you, sign up to subscribe to the podcast so that you are notified of when new episodes drop. Okay, guys, I hope you have a great rest of the day wherever you are in it. And I am believing with you, and I pray blessing over you, spirit, mind, soul, body, in every area of your life, in every area of your business, that God will bless and prosper, and he will blow open in his miraculous way, supernaturally, all the barriers that have stood in the way of you becoming who you were made to be. Hope you have a great rest of the day. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for joining me today on the Free to Soar podcast, where we empower and equip you to lead the business and the life of your dreams with freedom, impact, enjoyment, and abundance. I look forward to our next episode together, and I invite you to subscribe to be notified of new episodes as they are released. Please share this or your favorite episode with a friend or a loved one, and I'd love it if you'd leave a review on iTunes and Spotify.